Confucius teaching 75, those who want to go fast should go alone, but those who want to go far must go together. One quiet afternoon, Confucius students gathered under the shade of an old tree, discussing how to achieve success in life. Among them was a young man named Daniel, known for his decisive nature and eagerness to act quickly. With confidence in his voice, Daniel said, "I want to succeed as fast as possible. To do that, I'll work alone. I don't need to depend on anyone else." Confucius listened carefully, his wise eyes calm yet piercing. After a moment of silence, he replied, "Daniel, you can indeed go fast if you walk alone, but you will never go far without the help of others. A long journey requires many companions. When people share responsibility, support one another and walk side by side, their combined strength allows them to overcome any hardship and reach great goals together." Daniel sat quietly, reflecting on his teacher's words. At first, he didn't fully understand. He had always believed that independence meant power, that relying on others was a sign of weakness. But as days passed, he began to notice how collaboration made everything more efficient. When he worked with his fellow students, problems were solved faster, ideas grew stronger, and tasks that once felt impossible became manageable. Gradually, Daniel changed his approach. He started listening more, trusting others, and offering help in return. What surprised him most was that success no longer felt like a race, it became a shared journey. The joy of achievement grew deeper because it was built through connection, trust, and teamwork. Confucius' timeless lessons still speaks to us today. In our modern world driven by competition, speed, and individual ambition, we often forget the true value of cooperation. Many people chase quick success, believing they can do everything alone. But life, like a long road, is not just about speed, it's about endurance, purpose, and the relationships that sustain us along the way. Whether you're building a career, running a business, or simply pursuing personal growth, teamwork multiplies your strength. When people come together with a shared vision, they achieve more than they ever could alone. True success is not measured by how fast you reach your goals, but by how far you can go and how many hearts you inspire along the journey. As Confucius taught, going alone may take you to the finish line quicker, but walking together will take you to horizons beyond your imagination. So, the next time you face a long road ahead, don't rush to walk it alone. Look around, find those who share your dream and walk with them step by step, mile by mile. For in unity lies the strength that carries us farthest. Confucius teaching 76, the wise learn from their own mistakes, but the intelligent learn from the mistakes of others. One peaceful morning, Confucius gathered his students under the shade of an old tree. The air was calm, and the sound of rustling bamboo filled the courtyard. As the students settled, Confucius began to share a story, a lesson that would stay in their hearts forever. He spoke of an ancient king who once made a grave mistake. This king, blinded by pride and misplaced trust, appointed dishonest officials to high positions. At first, everything seemed fine, but soon corruption spread like wildfire. The kingdom suffered greatly, justice faded, the people lost faith, and the nation fell into turmoil. Confucius paused and looked at his students. His calm voice broke the silence. "My students, do you see the lesson behind the king's failure?" A thoughtful young man named Ethan, known for his curiosity and sincerity, raised his hand. "Teacher," he said respectfully, "I believe it means that a leader must choose wisely and never trust those who are unworthy, no matter how convincing they appear." Confucius nodded with approval. "Yes, Ethan, you are right. The wise man learns from his own mistakes, but the truly intelligent one learns from the mistakes of others. When you observe and reflect on the failures around you, you protect yourself from repeating them. That is how wisdom grows, through awareness, not just experience." The students listened in silence, each reflecting on his own life. They realized that wisdom was not only about living through pain, but about understanding the lessons hidden in the stories of others. Confucius' words became a mirror, showing them that mistakes, whether personal or observed, are valuable teachers if one is humble enough to learn. In today's fast-paced world, this lesson remains just as powerful. Many people rush forward without reflection, repeating the same errors others have already made. We live in an age filled with examples of failures in business, relationships, and leadership, yet not everyone takes time to study them. The intelligent mind looks at these moments not with judgment, but with curiosity, asking, "What can I learn from this before I make the same mistake?" Learning from others saves time, energy, and heartache. It allows us to grow without having to stumble through every failure ourselves. Whether in work, family, or personal dreams, wisdom lies in observation and reflection. As Confucius taught, we don't need to touch every flame to know it burns. By studying the lessons of those before us, we can walk further with fewer scars and greater understanding. That is the path of true intelligence, the path that turns others' mistakes into our stepping stones toward lasting success. Confucius Teaching 77, nothing is impossible if we persevere. One peaceful afternoon, Confucius sat beneath an ancient pine tree, surrounded by his students. Among them was a young man named Ryan, known for his determination, but also for his growing frustration. For months, Ryan had been studying a traditional art form, one that demanded incredible patience and precision. Despite his efforts, his progress was painfully slow. Each day, his confidence faded a little more. Finally, burdened by doubt, Ryan approached Confucius. Bowing respectfully, he said, "Teacher, I feel exhausted. No matter how hard I try, I cannot master this art. It's too difficult for me. I don't think I can continue." Confucius looked at him with a gentle smile and said calmly, "Ryan, nothing is impossible if you persevere. The road may be steep, but it is only through persistence that we reach the top. Every failure is not the end, but a step toward success. Challenges test your strength. Endurance shapes your soul. If you keep going, you will one day see that what seemed impossible was simply not yet achieved." These words struck Ryan deeply. He decided to trust his teacher and continue his practice, even when progress felt invisible. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Slowly but surely, his hands grew steadier, his focus sharper, and his spirit stronger. Each small improvement gave him new motivation to continue. Eventually, after years of dedication, Ryan mastered the art he once thought impossible. When he looked back, he realized that it wasn't talent or luck that brought him success, it was perseverance. His struggle had become his greatest teacher. In today's world, Confucius' lesson still rings true. Many people give up when faced with difficulty, believing that success should come quickly. But real growth takes time, patience, and resilience. Every meaningful goal, whether it's learning a new skill, building a career, or improving oneself, requires steady effort through uncertainty and fatigue. Perseverance is the silent force behind every great achievement. It transforms failure into wisdom and turns obstacles into stepping stones. Those who endure, even when the path is long and unclear, eventually find that success was never out of reach, it was simply waiting for them. To keep moving forward. As Confucius taught, nothing is impossible if we persevere. So, when life feels overwhelming, remember Ryan's story. Keep walking, keep learning, and never stop believing. The path may be long, but every step you take brings you closer to the impossible until it becomes real. Confucius Teaching 78, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. One peaceful afternoon, Confucius sat beneath the shade of an old pine tree as his students gathered around him. They were deep in discussion about how one person could make a difference in society. Among them was a thoughtful young man named Kevin, who spoke with a voice full of concern. "Teacher," he said, "I want to help others, but I feel powerless. There are too many problems in the world, and I don't have the ability to fix them all. What can I possibly do when there is so much to be done?" Confucius smiled gently, his eyes filled with calm wisdom. "Kevin," he said softly, "you do not need to do everything. No one can, but everyone can do something. Each of us has a strength, a gift, or a skill that can bring value to others. If every person contributes what they can, no matter how small, together we can create great change." His words lingered in the air like a quiet melody. Kevin listened carefully, and something within him shifted. He realized that his sense of helplessness came not from a lack of ability, but from expecting himself to do too much. From that day on, he stopped trying to solve every problem and began focusing on what he could do best. Kevin was skilled with his hands, so he began repairing tools and furniture for his neighbors. Others in the village, inspired by his example, started using their own strengths to help in different ways. Some cooked for the elderly, others taught children, and a few worked to clean the streets. Over time, the village transformed not through one person's effort, but through the small contributions of many. Confucius watched his students grow with quiet satisfaction. He knew they had learned one of life's greatest truths, that greatness is not about doing everything, but about doing something meaningful and doing it well. In today's fast-paced world, this lesson is more relevant than ever. We often feel overwhelmed by the problems around us: climate change, poverty, inequality, and injustice. But change doesn't always come from grand gestures. It begins with small acts done consistently. When each person focuses on their unique abilities and uses them to help others, those small sparks combine into something powerful. As Confucius taught, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And when everyone does their part, even the smallest efforts can create waves of transformation that ripple across the world. Confucius Teaching 79, Knowledge cannot replace perseverance. One serene morning, Confucius sat quietly beneath an ancient pine tree, observing his students as they practiced their lessons. Among them was a bright young man named Ethan, known for his sharp intellect and natural talent. Everyone admired his quick learning and insightful mind. Yet, despite his brilliance, Ethan often gave up when faced with challenges. Whenever something became too difficult, he would simply move on to something else, leaving his work unfinished. One day, Confucius called Ethan to his side. His voice was calm but firm. "Ethan," he said, "you possess great intelligence, but do you realize that without perseverance, knowledge alone cannot help you achieve anything meaningful?" Ethan lowered his head in silence, feeling ashamed. "Teacher," he admitted, "I have often given up when things became too hard. I thought that if I couldn't succeed right away, maybe I wasn't capable enough." Confucius smiled gently. "My student," he replied, "intelligence is valuable, but it is perseverance that transforms knowledge into achievement. Wisdom may show you the path, but only perseverance will help you walk it to the end. Challenges are not signs of weakness. They are tests of your strength. The mind may understand, but the heart must endure." Those words struck deeply within Ethan. From that day forward, he decided to change. Whenever he encountered obstacles, he reminded himself of Confucius' teaching. He studied longer, practiced harder, and refused to let frustration defeat him. Time passed, and slowly his persistence began to bear fruit. Tasks that once felt impossible became easier, and the goals he once abandoned were finally achieved. Ethan realized that talent might open doors, but perseverance is what allows us to walk through them. Knowledge helps us plan, but persistence ensures progress. Without it, even the brightest minds can fall short of greatness. In today's world, Confucius' wisdom remains timeless. We live in an age that values speed and instant results, where people often give up too soon when success doesn't come quickly. But true mastery, whether in study, career, or personal growth, demands patience and endurance. Perseverance is the bridge between potential and success. It turns intelligence into action and effort into achievement. As Confucius taught, knowledge cannot replace perseverance. When we commit to our goals and keep moving forward despite difficulty, we discover that the impossible slowly becomes possible, and that consistency, not brilliance, is the real path to greatness. Confucius Teaching 80, Treat others the way you want to be treated. In the tranquil courtyard of an ancient school, Confucius sat beneath a pine tree as his students studied nearby. Among them was a brilliant young man named Daniel, admired for his intelligence and sharp mind. Yet despite his academic excellence, Daniel carried an arrogance that often showed in how he treated others. He looked down on those he considered beneath him, particularly the servants who cleaned the halls and cared for the school. One afternoon, Daniel grew angry over a minor mistake and shouted harshly at a servant. Confucius, who had witnessed the scene, called him over with a calm but serious tone. "Daniel," the teacher said, "do you realize that the way you treat others determines how they will treat you in return?" Daniel frowned, confused. "Teacher," he asked, "how can that be? I am only demanding respect and proper service." Confucius smiled gently. His eyes filled with wisdom. "My student," he said, "if you wish to be respected and treated with kindness, you must first offer those things yourself. Respect is not something people owe you, it is something you create through your actions. The way you make others feel will one day reflect back upon you. Kindness breeds kindness and arrogance breeds resentment." Daniel stood silent, realizing his mistake. For the first time, he understood that intelligence without humility only builds walls between people. That evening, he approached the servant he had scolded and offered a sincere apology. The servant, surprised but grateful, smiled and forgave him. From that day on, Daniel made an effort to speak kindly, listen patiently, and show gratitude toward everyone no matter their position. Over time, something remarkable happened. The same people who once avoided him began to treat him with warmth and respect. The atmosphere around him changed. Daniel discovered that when you treat others with dignity, the world mirrors that back to you. In today's society, Confucius' teaching remains as relevant as ever. We live in a world where many chase success and status, but forget that true greatness is measured, not by power or wealth, but by how we treat others. Whether it's at work, at home, or online, respect and compassion are the foundations of meaningful relationships. Treating others as you wish to be treated is not just a rule of courtesy. It's a timeless principle of harmony. When you speak kindly, listen sincerely, and act with empathy, you build bridges instead of barriers. And in doing so, you invite respect, trust, and love into your life. As Confucius taught, treat others the way you want to be treated, for in every act of kindness, we shape the world around us and, ultimately, the person we become. Confucius Teaching 81. Everyone has the power to change themselves. One calm morning in the ancient city of Lu, Confucius sat peacefully beneath a tall pine tree as his students gathered around him. Among them was a quiet young man named William, who often felt uncertain about himself. Though he was diligent, he constantly struggled with feelings of inadequacy. He found it difficult to learn and even harder to connect with others. Day after day, he compared himself to his peers and felt smaller with each passing moment. One day, burdened by frustration, William approached his teacher and bowed deeply. "Teacher," he said, his voice trembling, "I feel like I can't change. No matter what I do, I always fall short. I'm not as talented or as capable as others. Maybe this is just who I am." Confucius looked at him with warmth and patience. After a moment of silence, he smiled gently and said, "William, do you know that everyone has the power to change themselves? What you feel right now is not who you truly are, it's simply the result of your past experiences and the thoughts you've allowed to shape you. If you wish to change, begin by changing how you see yourself. Growth starts not from others, but from within. Believe in your ability to improve, act with persistence, and you will see transformation." Those words lit a spark in William's heart. He realized that change was not something distant or impossible, it was a journey that began with one step, one choice, one thought. From that day forward, he stopped doubting himself and began working to strengthen his weaknesses. He studied with patience, practiced kindness in his speech, and reminded himself daily that progress, no matter how small, was still progress. Months passed, and gradually William's confidence grew. His efforts began to show in his learning and his interactions with others. People who once overlooked him now admired his quiet strength and perseverance. He discovered that the real power of change came not from talent, but from determination and belief. In today's world, Confucius' wisdom remains timeless. We often wait for circumstances or people to change before we act, but true transformation begins with ourselves. Every person has the ability to grow, no matter their past or present situation. As Confucius taught, everyone has the power to change themselves. When we shift our mindset, take consistent action, and refuse to give up, we open the door to becoming a better version of who we were yesterday. Confucius teaching 82 when learning. Don't only choose what's easy, learn what's difficult. One bright morning, Confucius sat beneath a towering pine tree, his calm eyes observing his students as they practiced their studies. Among them was a young man named Lucas, a clever and eager student who always sought quick success. Lucas preferred to study only the subjects that came easily to him. The satisfaction of fast results made him feel accomplished, and he believed this was the best way to learn. One day, Lucas approached Confucius and confessed, "Teacher, I find it hard to study difficult subjects. I prefer focusing on things I can easily understand because they make me feel successful." Confucius looked at him thoughtfully, then replied, "Lucas, if you only learn what is easy, you will never truly grow. The easy path gives comfort, but it does not lead to mastery. To become wise and capable, you must challenge yourself with what is difficult, what forces you to struggle, and reach beyond your limits. That is how real learning begins." These words struck Lucas deeply. Though uncertain at first, he decided to follow his teacher's advice. He began studying the subjects he once avoided: philosophy, mathematics, and the classics that once seemed too complex. The process was slow and often frustrating, but Lucas persisted. Each time he overcame a small obstacle, his confidence grew. Over time, he realized that the things he once feared were now his greatest sources of strength. Months later, Lucas returned to Confucius, his face bright with gratitude. "Teacher," he said, "you were right. The more I challenge myself, the more I understand my true potential. The difficult lessons have shaped me far more than the easy ones ever could." Confucius nodded and smiled. "Now you see, Lucas, growth does not come from avoiding struggle, it comes from embracing it. In today's world, where convenience and speed often take priority, Confucius' lesson feels more relevant than ever. Many seek shortcuts to success, forgetting that lasting achievement requires patience and endurance. It's through facing what's hard, learning new skills, solving complex problems, or stepping outside comfort zones that we truly evolve. As Confucius taught, when learning, don't only choose what's easy, learn what's difficult. The challenges we face are not obstacles, but invitations to grow, pushing us closer to wisdom, strength, and lasting success. As we've journeyed through these 8 timeless lessons from Confucius, one truth shines brightly. Wisdom isn't found in words alone, but in how we choose to live them. Each story reminds us that growth begins within, that kindness creates harmony, that perseverance shapes destiny, and that every challenge holds the seed of transformation. Confucius' teachings aren't just echoes of the past, they are mirrors for our present lives. In a world that moves fast, his wisdom calls us to slow down, reflect, and become better each day, wiser, calmer, and more compassionate. If these lessons have touched your heart, inspired your thoughts, or reminded you of your own path to self-improvement, don't let the journey end here. There are still many more teachings waiting to be discovered, stories of courage, humility, and the pursuit of true balance in life. So stay with us, subscribe, share, and join our growing community of seekers who believe that ancient wisdom can still guide the modern soul, because learning never ends. And as Confucius taught, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Let's keep moving forward, one story, one lesson, one moment at a time.